Hello, Floss Tube. It is 44 degrees here in Lehigh, Utah, going for a high of about 55. And in Washougal, Washington, it is actually 55 there right now, going for a high of 75 or 76, supposed to be. So it's nicer over there right now than it is here. We've got partly cloudy, and we had some snow, a little bit of snow yesterday, but not anything that's stuck on the ground. Just kind of hit and miss. So, of course, it's going to be cold for the next few days until it starts warming up. So anyway, I'm Colette. I'm the Highway Stitcher, here to bring you my stitching from the home. Not the highway at this time, at least for a while. This is a floss tube for stitching and cross stitch in particular, though I do go off very often to other venues. Such as lace, beading, other things when I get a chance. Anyway, I'm here to bring you a weekly update. This has been kind of strange going every week, but it's kept me on my toes to keep working on my projects. But I've been doing weekly updates, and it's been working very interesting, very well. So before I head into the update on my stitching though, couple of things. One is I haven't said lately anything about appreciating my subscribers and also people who listen to my videos. I again want to tell you thank you. Sometimes when I'm videoing, can't even speak, I forget about all the things that I need to say, and then it's like, do you really want to go back and edit it out, put it in, whatever else? So before I forget, thank you to everybody who subscribed. Anybody watching me for the first time, please hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you who are regular viewers. Thank you so very much. When I answer comments, I probably say that more because I'm kind of more of a writing person a lot than I am an in-person talking individual. And so doing videos doesn't come easy for me. But I do appreciate and try to put it into writing how much I appreciate all you people who watch the videos and watch my content. So again, thank you so much, and thank you for subscribing. And before I go into my rotation and how I did this week, I'm going to give you a couple more noir films for you to check out if you have a chance. People seem to think that they like the idea of some movies to check out, and since I'm a noir fan, I've got a couple more that I want to tell you something about. I don't have the easiest time explaining movies without ending up telling you the whole story, and which I do not want to do. So I found, when I checked online, I found like a couple of review people. There's an Emmanuel Levy that I check on and that I review. If you want to watch these movies without knowing really what they're all about, which is really the best, don't check these reviews, please. I'm just showing them, or I'm just telling you what it says, like the first paragraph, and that way I keep myself off from explaining the whole story to you, but kind of give you an idea of why it's an important noir film to watch. So that's what I kind of plan to do. It's easier for me to read a couple paragraphs here and maybe give you an inkling of what you'll be watching. And the two movies I'm going to mention today, one is a color movie actually, which I will read and tell you a little bit about it. It is a true noir film, and it is excellent. It's called Leave Her to Heaven with Gene Tierney and Cornell Wilde. The reviewer here, he actually said, last week in one of my many sleepless nights, I began watching Leave Her to Heaven at 3 o'clock in the morning and continued to view it with excitement and exhilaration to its last frame 2 hours later. I'm not sure that I can explain rationally, as a scholar or a critic, what makes this picture so important. I've seen it at least a dozen times, but it's mesmerizing and riveting in a number of levels. All I know is that it's film noir in color, and it gives me the kind of pleasure that very few contemporary films do today. It's centering on an insanely jealous, cold-blooded murderess, splendidly played by Gene Tierney in an Oscar-nominated performance, which she was nominated for an Oscar in this movie, I believe in 1946. John M. Stahl, who produced it, his Leave It to Heaven is one of the most intensely cruel and colorfully lurid films ever made. So, and according to Variety, Leave Her to Heaven was the second highest grossing film of the year, a blockbuster by today's standards. There was only one film that rated above it in the amount of money that was made. And it's rooted in like traditional noir, but it's a one-of-a-kind work because being in color, it's like it gives a whole different perspective to noir film, but it's just really a disturbing noir film, and it's very, very good. So anyway, those little bits that I told you maybe will give you some interest as to why you should watch that particular film. I would highly recommend Leave Her to Heaven. Excellent, excellent noir film. And then the other one that I would suggest is Nightmare Alley. The interesting thing about Nightmare Alley is that it has a lot of leading film actors and actresses of the time, and very few noir films had that. Most of them were made in a low budget, made with stars like the B picture stars, ones that weren't quite the type A listed film stars. Edmund Goulding, this is what it says, directed Nightmare Alley, a harsh, brutal noir melodrama based on William Lindsay Grossam's 1946 novel of the same name, and it starred matinee idol Tyrone Power in one of his strongest and most unusual atypical performances. Wishing to expand beyond the romantic and swashbuckler that he was, he bought the rights to this novel, and he wanted to star in it. It was called The Great Stanton, and he was a scheming carnival barker, and it premiered in October 1947 and was released 3 weeks later. And to increase authenticity in this particular film, 20th Century Fox that made it, they put like a full-scale working carnival in their back lot and hired many sideshow attractions and carnival people. And Nightmare Alley was somewhat unusual because it had top stars and a relatively large budget. So anyway, I would highly, highly recommend Nightmare Alley. And it isn't just because of the high, type A-list stars. I believe Tyrone Power was really, really picked a very good vehicle for himself. Totally different than any Tyrone Power movie that you've ever seen. Very, very, very good. So I would highly recommend Nightmare Alley. Neither one of them I'm going to tell you what happens in them because they will grab you and you will just be totally blown away by both those films. So I would suggest Leave Her to Heaven with Gene Tierney and Nightmare Alley with Tyrone Power. Please watch those two. They're great noir films. Okay, I'm going to move on now to my rotation and tell you how things went this week. First of all, I'll show you my weekly piece that I was giving like a few minutes on every day, which is Lost No More. It's my Dimensions Gold kit of the Savior with the lambs. I've been I worked on this quite a bit last week because of Easter. I spent more hours on it during the Easter weekend than I had been before. So pretty happy with my progress on it. This is just being worked on what's in the kit. It's a typical Dimensions Gold collection kit. So it has the floss and the Aida fabric in it, which I did use. So this is what it looks like now. I finished, see, I'll go down here more, close this off a little, show you exactly what I got accomplished. I had ended right about in the middle of his cape or cloak. So I moved my way all the way down, finished up the cloak with all its blends of colors, and then moved over starting the flowers and the grass. So I'm amazed. I like the Dimension kits on how they blend the colors. The color blending is just amazing, as you can see. It just really, even without the back stitch, it just shows. I just thought of something. They're called Dimensions kits, but it shows the dimensions of the piece itself. It just shows off, so many dimensions and looks. and how cool a blended thread piece can be. A lot of hassle blending threads, but it really gives you quite a perfect looking stitched piece at the end. So I plan on continuing on with this. I'm going to give it a few stitches every day, 30 minutes at least. If I get excited, I will go beyond the 30 minutes and continue working on that. I will until the end of April. Next week, I'm going to show you my Mania plans. So because of Stitch Mania coming up, I will be stopping Lost No More during the month of May. I hope to remember to pick it back up again in June and continue working on it then. Okay, on to my my weekly rotation on to Monday. Monday is Plantation Sampler. That's a 1987 Canterbury design booklet. The piece is by Donna Vermillion, who also did Wisdom Sampler, which is the piece, one of the samplers that I finished last year. I'm doing this with a 32 count Lakeside linen pecan butter. And since this is a pretty big piece, I didn't do it in 40 count. I have to hold it back here so you can see it. And that's more indicative of the color. The pecan butter is a beautiful, creamy, toasty, pecan-y look. So that's a good way of putting it. So having it back farther here, it shows the color better. What I accomplished, so I will try to explain without putting this all down. The vines, the leaves, and those beautiful flowers, I had ended on both sides of the border just before the last flower, last time I worked on it. So I finished those last flowers down near the bottom on both the left and right side borders all the way down, and also finished the inside border, the one that's like back and forth, like a ridgy type. Finished it down to the bottom. They both met, so I had my borders meet, and then I continued across the bottom to enclose it to make sure that the whole piece was correctly done and I have no mistakes. I was originally going to move on to the house, but then I thought to myself, I better make sure that this is all correct and that everything meets, because you always sure feel happy when all the borders meet up. And I'm glad I did that. So that's what I accomplished this time, quite a bit. I had a lot of time to work on Plantation Sampler on Monday. Mondays are usually good days for me for doing stitching, so I was happy with that. So anyway, a little bit closer here so you can see the flowers. It's just a beautiful piece. There's the tree, some of the trees, that one tree with the birds. This is also with the colors. It was a color conversion. I mentioned 32 count pecan butter Lakeside linen. It is being stitched with a shepherd's bush conversion of flosses to more modern, updated, overdyed. So it's like a combination of classic Colorworks, Weeks, Sampler threads, Gentle Arts, and updated to reflect kind of what people like nowadays. So I think it's been turning out really nice. I'm really excited. So onward to, I'm excited to start the house. I think I'll work on the house next, bring that fence down, and meet the other side is my plans, hopefully. Okay, my Tuesday rotation is Emerald City by Alforce Designs. They had this as a SAL last year. I don't know for sure because I haven't looked it up, but take a look on their website. It was a free pattern. Not sure if it still is, but give it a look if you're interested. And I am doing mine on Hand Dyed by Rolanda Fabrics on kind of a green, kind of a swirly green, darker green, with the called for DMC threads. Kind of looks a little bit like a tornado zooming around. So, and with Emerald City, I like the green look to it. Hand dyed by Rolanda, is a dyer of fabric. She is located on, she is on Etsy, and I will give you her information below in my box. And this time I finished part 2, finally. The scarecrow was done. I worked on the crow and some of the yellow brick road up top there, the little motif, and the rest of the fence, and the corn stalks. So my last stuff to do is just finishing up Glinda's 1/1, which I will do when Tuesday rolls around. And then I will also start up on the third part, which is the Tin Woodman and the Cowardly Lion. So it seemed like so much when I was working on this that I didn't have as much time as I wanted, so it just was like just lingering on, and I just kept going, I want to get to the next part. So I'm finally happy once I get that over 1 done, I get to move on to the next part. So I'm going to try to get up really early on Tuesday morning, get that over 1 done while I'm nice and awake, and then move on to do that scarecrow at least, and maybe on to some more of it. So that it's been a fun chart. It's just that it just seems to have lingered, and I just don't move ahead on it like I want to. And you know how that is with some pieces. So you just feel like you need to get more done than you do, and you just don't. So, but I'm excited to move on to part 3. Okay, Wednesday's rotation is my work on Pattern Keeper and full coverage piece. I am working on Heaven and Earth Designs, Story Keep Maleficent. There she is right there. I've always liked Maleficent of all the evil queens. This is a chart design by Michelle Saeda of Heaven and Earth Designs, and the artwork is by Anya Kai. I am doing this totally on Pattern Keeper, which is on my Kindle that I got at Christmas, and working pretty much in a diagonal with a little bit of cross country. When I get a little bit more comfortable with cross country, then I plan on moving and doing more with that. I tried to do a little cross country last week, and I made a couple mistakes. I thought I was in the right squares and my right counting, even with Pattern Keeper, and I wasn't quite right. So I'm still kind of working on getting through my learning curve with this. So I did go off and do a little bit of cross country, but mostly stayed on the diagonal. So this is what I accomplished this week on it. I put in about 509 stitches. That was really fun to be able to know the exact amount of stitches I put in. The others I have to count them and then write them down. And this one I don't. It's on my Pattern Keeper app. And to show you what I accomplished with that 509 is the diagonals, of course, are getting longer and bigger. So this part of the diagonal was not finished, so I filled all in that, started up here, and worked and filled in quite a bit of that down about halfway. Blues on this are just, oh, so gorgeous. And this is being stitched on 25 count, gridded Lugana fabric, 1/1 full cross. I prefer 1/1 on 25 count, not 2/1. I tried that and my backs got too bulky and I couldn't even fit the thread through. So I've stayed with 1/1 full cross. Maybe when I start going in some other patterns, I might try different counts. I might try tent stitches, which is just a half cross. But for right now, I'm sticking with a full cross, and I'm very happy with the coverage on that. And that was really fun to tap off my little X's on on the Pattern Keeper app and work on the full coverage. So I always enjoy that Wednesday to do that. And Wednesdays I tend to have a lot of time too. Okay, now on to Thursday's rotation. And what's fun about this week is I not only had one border meet up, I had two borders meet up. My Thursday rotation is Pink Sparrow Sampler by Brenda Gervais with By Needle and Thread. And my plan for that was to finish the border to make sure that it met. And it does. So that's my second border that meets for this week. I'm really happy with the colors on this. On this fabric, it's just beautiful. It's not the fabric that was called for. I just had some Picture This Plus fog, and when I put the overdyed flosses on it, I thought, well, that looks really pretty. So that's why I decided to just go ahead and use it. I did end up substituting one when I started working on it. I substituted out the blue flower and the blues that are in it for Victorian motto Lexington green. I would have to check and see and put below what the original overdyed thread was, but it was just not coming up where I could see it well, so I did substitute that. But the rest are the called fors on Picture This Plus 28 count fog. My plan on this is to hopefully finish it up by the end of the month, before Mania, because I just realized that when I was going through my Mania stuff and I have it all written down, what I worked on last year and on what day and where I can put in new starts. And Pink Sparrow is a Mania start, and I did not realize that. I must have started it last year at Mania. It's my number 5, day 5, I think. And I thought, well, that's crazy. This is getting close to being done. I need to finish it. And I do have a 6th kitted project that I can put in for a Mania start. So I'm going to try really hard to finish up this piece. If it gets past next week and I haven't gotten a lot of work done on it, I may change my rotation up and put it down for 3 days. We will see with that. But if I can get it done, that would be great to have a 6th project done for Mania, which isn't perfect, but you know, I'm not as good as some other people, but at least I finished a few of them. Okay, my number 5 Friday, my Friday piece is Mirabelia Garden Prelude. A beautiful violinist. I didn't get too much done on this last Friday. Sometimes Fridays aren't very, very good because I'm either editing and posting my video for the week, or we're out working in the garden. We've been trying to get our raised beds ready to plant next month. And so sometimes I don't get all the work done in this I'd like to. And then also I've been bugged too because there are several of the new DMC colors that I do not have that I needed for this piece. Excuse me. And I didn't have them. So I placed an order in 123 Stitch, but unfortunately, since they're so backlogged, they could not send them until today. I will probably get them tomorrow or Monday, but I tend to just like to work on a certain part and then get it done. And unfortunately, that certain part I wanted to work on has a lot of the new colors. And stubborn me, I didn't want to move on to another section. So today, when I work on this, I may be moving on to another section because I've done all the colors I can do and I don't have the new ones yet. This is being stitched on 32 count Picture This Plus Demoiselle, Demoisell. I'm not sure if that's the correct French pronunciation, but that is the color. It's a color that doesn't show up well here but it's a beautiful shaded aquas, purples, greens in very subtle light colors, and just is beautiful for this piece. The only part that I got done this time, if you look, is I had barely started on those hair bows there back behind her hair. So I worked on more of the purples, dark purples and light purples on her hair. And then I made a mistake because there was a lot of counting and checking and counting. And then I had to rip out a section too. So not a lot to show for Miss Mirabelia, but I did do about maybe 100 stitches. So 100's better than nothing. And I might put her into, I might pull Lost No More out for one day and put her, or a couple days, and put her in place for doing like 30 minutes a day to try to catch up on her a little bit and get her filled in with those pretty colors on her bow, and down her hair, get her hair done when I get the new floss from DMC. So, okay, on to, this chair just does not slide good on my carpet. Excuse me. Okay, on to my Saturday rotation piece, and that is the Linen and Threads Mystery Sal Family and Friends for this year, 2020. Again, Saturday we were really busy working on the raised beds, so I didn't get too much done. My plan was to get done all the rest of February, so I'm moving on to the March part of the Mystery Sal, which I did not do. But I did get done the top part of the plant there. And to show it from farther back. Actually, this one I have to fold up because the glare from the window kind of shows through it because it's a darker fabric. So just a minute here. Gonna go like that. And there we go. This is being stitched on, boy, I'm sure shadowy today. It must be because of the clouds outside or something. Put my hand down there. This is being stitched on 32 count linen and threads. They're actually Fox and Rabbit designs on their fabric, which is called Lyrebird Dell. It's a beautiful dark teal green. And the thread being used is an overdyed Larkspur by Cottage Garden Threads, which are Australian threads. Decided to go with some of their stuff this year for my mystery stitch along. Usually I just kind of pick my own and do it, but I opted to do their thoughts on it, and I'm really happy with it. So there she is. My plan is, of course, to finish up that plant there, put in the few initials of good friends, because my Linen and Threads sampler is going to have all my dear stitching friends on it, and move on to the March part of the part 3. So we'll see how I do this Saturday. Sunday's piece is Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais with a needle and thread. This particular pattern, I'm sure other people have mentioned this too, but it is not out yet. I believe Brenda has a possible release date in mind for winter. That has been what other people have mentioned on their floss tubes. It was a class piece for, I believe, a Shepherd's Bush retreat. And we received it at the Midwest cross-stitching retreat in October. It was available for us to buy. Brenda came to give us a presentation and a piece that she designed all her own for us, which was amazing. And in the process, she also had her shop open, and she allowed us to buy Winter Rose Manor. Not a whole lot done. This again is another piece I'm waiting for floss to come from 123 Stitch, which should be here anytime. So pieces of these motifs are not filled in. This is being stitched on a 40 count Lakeside linen tundra, a beautiful subtle shading of gray. And this time what I did was I did that little tree with the eyelet stitches. Because I had the colors for that. If my colors do not come by this Sunday, which is possible they won't, I will continue. My plans are to continue on the border, because I can continue this part of the border and that part of the border. I do have the colors for those beautiful, beautiful flowers for the border, as well as the leaves. So my plan probably is to continue that until I get the floss I need. And it is being stitched with all of the called for overdyed threads that Brenda has in her list. When I put them up to the piece, they looked beautiful, so I decided to use them all still. And my reasoning for going to this is just to seem more wintry to me. Not that the other color that she had isn't beautiful, it's beautiful for her fabric, but I just love grays and thought that was just perfect for wintertime. So that's Winter Rose Manor. That's my plan for Sunday and for what to finish there. I don't think I said what my, let me see if did I say my plans for everyone? I think I did. The full coverage, my plan is, of course, to finish up that diagonal. I don't know how many stitches that will be, but I try to go for about 500. I usually have enough time for that. I'm not the fastest stitcher in the world, but I'm kind of slow and steady. I'm not the slowest either. I'm kind of probably in between. But I think that was the one of these pieces that I did not tell you my plan on. Sometimes I forget that. I remember to show you what the fabric, tell you what the fabric and the floss, and tell you what I accomplished. But sometimes I forget to tell you what my plans are for that. I had other ideas as they came up as I was showing these to you about my rotation this next week. There's a possibility that I will pull Pink Sparrow out and do it more this week. And there's also a possibility that I will pull out Plantation and do more this week. Mostly, and I'll write that down, I'll decide that on Sunday when my rotation is done for this week. The reason being twofold. It's because I can get a lot of work done on both of those, and I have all the floss for it. And I can just work on them kind of steady. Pink Sparrow get closer to being done, as well as Plantation Sampler get closer to being done too. And Winter Rose Manor and Garden Prelude, I don't have some of the flosses that I need. And I tend to be a person who likes to just get that part done and move on. I don't like to leave it undone. So because of that, I'm waiting off on the floss, and I just don't feel that desire to work on it unless I can get that part done. So I may change my rotation up this week. You'll find that out next week if I do. Okay, just a couple more items before I end. I want to get this ended because it takes longer to upload things now. So many people are doing floss tubes. I received a market release in the mail late. I forgot I had ordered this, and I thought, how appropriate. I got it on in a part of the week where I was done. I was absolutely done. I said, I have the wanderlust. I have to get out of here. You know me and my traveling, being the highway stitcher. I just wanted to go and get out and do something, and I just was getting really, really depressed. So anyway, here comes the mail. I can't remember who I ordered this from. I can't remember if it was the Bush or who it was. But anyway, this came in the mail, and I go, this is so perfect. Because it made me calm down when I read the quote on it. This is Scarlett House's Seeking Refuge. I had ordered this, and it had run out, and so they sent it to me this last week. And it says, when the world seems to be out of control, I find a way to nurture my soul. Seeking refuge with needle and thread, the angst and anxiety no longer I dread. So I said, okay, Colette, get back to your stitching. You'll be able to go back out again in a while. Just go back to your stitching. Let your anxiety level out. Everything will be fine. So it came at a perfect time. Thanks. Whoever sent this to me it was probably Shepherd's Bush. So thank you guys. Anyway, it was perfect. The other thing, I just received this yesterday, and I saw something in it that was very interesting to me. And I'll tell you in a bit what that is. But this is the newest Just Cross Stitch magazine. So I thought maybe I'd give you a fast flip through on it. I know I don't normally do that because most floss tubers who do flip throughs do it like right away when they get it. So I go, why should I add to it? I can't add anything to what they say, and it's already been shown. But this time I'm probably one of the first ones. So, but I am not, so I'm going to give you an idea of some of what's in it, but I'm not going to do everything. Just some of the ones that kind of grabbed me. And at first when I looked at the front, and I just wasn't grabbed too much by it, but I saw this little writing here, Welsh Samplers, Explore the History of Wales and its Textile Heritage. And I got excited. I have Welsh in me. In my other life, I not only raised dairy goats, but I was a professional genealogist back years ago. Just did that from home, could make a little bit of extra money back before things were online, and I had to do like research at libraries and other places to help people find their lineage. So of course my lineage is back quite far, and I've done a lot of extensive research. I have some Welsh ancestors. On my mother's side only, not my father's side. This is my maternal line. I have a Williams. If you have a Williams in your line anywhere, it is Welsh. There were very few last names that were used in Wales. Jones was used. Williams was used. Grant is another one. But there weren't very many surnames. So Williams is one of my surnames. And it's Welsh, and it's my grandfather's mother on my mother's side, my mother's father's side. So anyway, I went immediately to this article, The Sampler Sleuth, The History of Wales and its Textiles here. I love history about samplers anyway. But here's some of the samplers that they have in the magazine. These are beautiful, beautiful colors. This one is a Margaret Davies 1853 sampler. Of course, it has the Welsh alphabet, if you look close, and the way they did their words. And over here on the other side is Sarah Jones, 1875. Like I said, Jones was a common name, and Davies too. Look at those beautiful, beautiful colors. Boats seem to be a big theme in Welsh samplers. A lot of reds, deep reds, maroon type of reds in their colors that they used. Dogs too. Golds, a lot of golds. So when I get a chance, I just got this. I haven't read the article yet. So when I get a chance, I'm going to read the article. But I was mesmerized by that. And they have a small sampler here that was designed by Deborah Fasano of Historic Handworks. It's called Mother of Wales Sampler, which is kind of appropriate because this is a June cross stitch, but it has Mother's Day patterns in it. Here it is with kind of some of those deep reds and golds. And like it says, mom and mam, and Simru, which is the word for Wales, Welsh. So I'm pretty excited. I would love to do this. This is only like about 140 by 140. And I would love to put in here, rechart it a little bit, and put my Williams surname in there. So that was my excitement with Just Cross Stitch with the magazine. I think there were a couple other things in here too, but that was my main. I was just amazed. This one is really cool. This person, doesn't that just look like a painted piece? And yet that's all cross stitch. I believe that this person was just excellent in their design work. That just looks so real. It's called Watercolor Blooms, and it really, really looks like watercolor. Another beautiful piece. There's a couple cute little ones in here that remind me of like Brooks books and stuff, called At the Farm. Stitch this pair of adorable farm hands. Aren't those little cutie guys? Little boy and little girl with the sheep. Chickens. Let's see if there's another one that I liked. I think that was my favorites. Oh, they've been doing a series of seasonal designs called trees. Like summer tree, spring tree, fall tree. And they're just really pretty. And this is the summer tree. Isn't that pretty? So once I got past the cover and into the magazine, I was pretty excited. I thought, oh, all I need is more patterns and ones in magazine. Of course, I shouldn't have taken the magazine if I didn't want to do some patterns out of it. So those are the things that really excited me about the magazine. So thought I would give you just a little flip through of that. My mouth is getting dry. I need a drink of water. That's why the words are not coming out good. So I am going to leave you and let you know that I appreciate you being here. And again, as I forgot, I'm going to have to stop and edit this in because I forgot my gratitude quote for the day. So just a second. Every day I am going to remember this book so I don't have to keep leaving and coming back. Anyway, I fell open to a quote which is interesting because we're all at home now. It shows a really pretty picture of like cobweb, spider web. And it says, "The power of finding beauty in the humblest things makes home happy and life lovely." That's by Louisa May Alcott. And I believe that that's telling us to look at the happiness in our homes. Because our homes we may consider them humble, and just not exciting at times. But some of the happiest moments we have are in our home. And so we can find them there. And that's Louisa May Alcott's quote for today. So again, I'm going to end this video and tell you thanks so much for joining me. Remember the beauty out there in your home and everywhere else that you travel. And I love you guys lots, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.